guys? This is Joe from Steel Forging Fire. How's everybody doing today? Before I get started with the video, a little message to our veterans. We support awareness for our veterans that 22 veterans a day take their own lives, in which, from what I understand, the number is actually getting lower. So let's actually try to call it hashtag 22 a day, no more. Message to our vets, you have a place here, and there's a number in the description of all my videos for some people that could help you if you're in despair. So in front of me here, I have the Chinese Dao. It's actually called a Double Dragon Willow Leaf Saber. This sword came to me from Sino Swords, Jaku Swords. I know LK Chen is a popular choice of Chinese swords, very well handling, pretty well built swords, but I wanted to give a shout to Jaku to see what they had to offer. I've been looking at this for a little while, and I wanted to kind of broaden my horizons to get into Chinese weaponry, because they are beautiful, beautiful swords. I mean, as you can see, and this is definitely no exception. I'm a novice, basically, in terms of dealing with these swords and the terminology, and dealing with also one-handed weapons, because I primarily like to use two-handed weapons, but I'm going to give you my best opinion of what I feel about this particular sword. The word for this concept, Dao, indicates a way, in the sense of a road or a path. Dao is a category of single-edged Chinese swords that are primarily used for slashing and chopping, like sabers. Often called a broadsword in English translation. In China, this was one of the primary weapons used in the Ming period dynasties and later. They were all called the general of all weapons. The other was the stick or staff, the other was a spear, and the other was a sword, which is also called a juan. The Dao have varied greatly over the centuries, from single-handed weapons to two-handed weapons. And the modern swords they are based on today share a number of the same characteristics. They are among one of the most popular weapons used in Chinese culture. This is the Double Dragon Willow Leaf Dao from Jaku Sino Swords. It's their own replica representation of the Willow Leaf Dao of historical findings. There are many companies that actually make the Dao. There's Hanban Forge, there's Louis Swords. They all pretty much come very close. They're very similar in terms of their execution with this type of Willow Leaf Dao. I mean, aesthetically, I think they did a great job in making up this sword. You notice the rosewood scabbard, beautifully painted. Not perfect. I mean, there are blemishes, some glue spots you'll see in the close-ups, but it is a really beautiful varnish. Look at the detail at the tip of the scabbard. Really detailed iron drawings, like the willow leaf type of theme. Middle plate with the handle that was able to carry the sword on horseback or on the hip, with the two collars and the top plate and the tarred cord on the top. Very nice presentation. Notice more detail at the bottom of the board on top of the scabbard, which I noticed that piece actually comes off. I don't know if that was on purpose, but it does come off. Here's a shot of the actual handle. It's a very tight corded wrapped handle. Some spaces with the rosewood there that I think they could have executed a little bit better. I don't know if they did that purposely, but I would have liked to see the cord completely wrap around the rosewood. There's the pommel, again, solid iron pommel. I believe it's all iron pieces. They're all really solid pieces, beautifully detailed. Nice castings, not the best castings, but really nice castings. I was very happy with what I got from this sword. Here's the guard. It's like an odd shaped guard, not totally round, kind of like almost oval shape, but beautifully detailed as well. The theme pretty much is captured around all the pieces of the sword. This is where the sword shines. The blade is absolutely beautiful. It's a T10 folded steel blade with hamon, differentially hardened. I think that this is my favorite. This is the highlight of this sword. is the steel, and J-Crew does a great job for me in the past with all katana, but this folded steel, I mean, there are so many details that just dance off the screen, off of this blade. You see the grain patterns, the temper line, beautiful details all up and down the blade. This folded steel is some of my favorite types of blades to admire, to look at. They're just beautiful. Look at all that detail. It looks like little wood grain lines. You could actually see the temper line there. Actually, it has a double bowhide, one thin and a thicker bowhide on top, and they pretty much terminate almost at the same spot on each side. And then it comes to this really devastating, very elongated tip. Very robust blade, guys. It's a very wide blade. The tip actually thins out to a distal taper when it gets to the point from the spine of the blade, but it is a really beautiful point that it comes to. This is definitely a stabber, which you'll see in some of my cutting videos. And here, just admiring some more shots of this beautiful wood grain folded tense steel pattern on this blade. Absolutely gorgeous. Here is the handle again, very tightly wrapped. I mean, even with use, it didn't come undone or anything like that. But it is very tightly wrapped. I would have liked to have seen, like I said, the wrapping to cover the entire rosewood handle. But hence, that's what it is. But it didn't seem to come undone or unloosen or untighten anywhere from that spot. Here's the collar of the handle. Again, same type of detail. Very nicely done as well. Very tightly fitted to the suba, or the guard rather, at least before I started using it. This is what gave me the most problem. This, like, kind of, I think it's, I don't know if it's for aesthetics or it's actually there to pin the cord down. A lot of discomfort on the hand. But all in all, this is a very beautifully, aesthetically beautiful sword. I think aesthetically, execution-wise, I think they did a nice job. Now, handling this sword paints a completely different picture on this dowel from J-Crew. I never quite felt comfortable handling this sword, swinging it around, stopping it, starting it. And it was very uncomfortable in the hand in terms of the cording and that locking piece there that kind of digs into your palm. It really cut into my palm to the point where I actually had to wear gloves. There was something about the weight distribution of this sword where I just felt like I had no control over the tip. It was very hard to stop, and it was very hard to use it one-handed because I felt like I had no control of stopping the sword after a swing. So it was very hard to keep my edge alignment and give myself a powerful swing in order to get through the target. The sharpness level was okay. I prefer a little sharper, but it is able to cut. It is a good cutting sword, or blade rather. On the harder plastic targets, it would have served me better if it was a little sharper, but considering the fact that my edge alignment wasn't great, because I had no control over the sword, I wasn't able to get really great cuts. Took the cap off of that, no damage to the blade. Saw some stabbing also, but it kind of just, it cut it, but it pushed it also to the side, because if it was a little bit sharper, it would have been better. Here's some bamboo, partly dried out, but it got through the bamboo pretty well until my stand broke. The fit and finish. This is the handle, the carrying handle, and you notice that the collars kind of wiggle from side to side, which is not uncommon. I've seen LK Chen swords that are actually even worse than this, but you notice how they rock from side to side. The one on the right, you see how it's kind of rocking. But that should have been fixed a little bit better in my opinion, but it's not uncommon on these swords as well. The bigger problem was the actual fit of the sword into the scabbard. I actually had to take a considerable amount of wood out in order for the sword to come in and out easily, probably from the expansion from the humid climate to the cold climate of the States right now. But you notice also the entire piece actually comes off. I don't know if that's done purposely, but it does. It doesn't look like there was any glue. I think it's purposely done, but probably it was easy for me to service it that way, to take the wood out, but it is noted that it does come off. But there is no wiggle of the sword at all in the scabbard. It has a pretty nice fit in the scabbard, other than basically the actual mount where the sword goes in. The pommel actually did come loose. It was wiggling from side to side. After some really simple cuts, I really didn't do that much cutting with it, but it did start coming loose, and I fear that it actually will come off. I would have to service it, glue it. The cording shouldn't affect the cording, but the pommel may end up coming off with some more use on it. But what's disturbed me the most is just the uncomfort of the cord wrapping. It was kind of just, ripping into the hands a little bit, and that piece in the middle was really sharp, and it was biting right into my hand to the point where like I said, I had to actually wear gloves in order to handle the sword. So that, on top of the imbalance of the sword, it just made it for, an uncomfortable experience in handling the sword. I think with a little more practice and a little more use of the sword, I would probably learn to deal with it, but also, you see how the guard is also wiggling from side to side, the pommel, and even the collar on the handle was wiggling from side to side. So the cover over the blade, though, was pretty tight. That remained pretty tight. But everything else kind of just got loose from the friction and the shock of doing the cuts. So there was a couple of things that were affected in the fit and finish of the sword, with really some very simple cutting, not much at all. Like I said, I did a couple bamboo cuts, couple of bottles, nothing too crazy, but I guess the friction of cutting, it just kind of affected, and kind of everything just kind of got loose. But the blade itself is absolutely perfect. I gave it some love with some Mother's Meg. No rolls, no dips, no bends, no chips. The blade is absolutely perfect. Very happy with the blade. Okay, this is where I actually rate the sword, sum it up, and let you know what I think about it. First off, category, aesthetics, and appearance. Guys, I absolutely love the look of this sword. The execution in trying to recreate a replica of such a popular Chinese sword is amazing. I think it was beautiful. I love the metal work. I love the wrapped handle. I mean, how it feels is different, but how it looks is great. And I am absolutely in love with the blade. They never do me wrong with their blades. J-Crew does a great job in tempering their blades, in grinding their blades, in giving it a smooth finish. The hamon and the folded steel is absolutely gorgeous. I will definitely get more folded steel type of blades, possibly Tamahogany, from J-Crew, because I think they do an amazing job on their blades. I am very happy with the blade and the overall appearance of this sword as a showpiece, as a collector's item, as something just to look at, and it's like candy to my eyes. So I think the rosewood scabbard, everything is beautiful. I love the look of this overall sword. So for aesthetics and appearance, I would actually give this sword an 8. Considering it's a price range of around $368, it's not a $1,000 sword. So within that price range, I think it's fair to give this thing an 8 in aesthetics and appearance. Okay, overall fit and finish category 2. Listen guys, this is a sword that is in the $367 price range-ish, something like that. Many swords within that price range have these same type of fit and finish problems. I mean, listen, LK Chen is in the same price range. Their fit and finish is not perfect. Better handling swords, but their fit and finish is not perfect. So these are problems that are not terrible, but not great as well. It's not something that you want to have to be servicing. It's not something that I want to have to be servicing, especially just kind of grinding down the sword to fit into the scabbard. I don't like the discomfort in my hand with the cord, but I can actually shave that little pinned thing down on the handle to make it a little more comfortable. I can learn how to hold the sword a little bit better. There's definitely things that I can do to be more comfortable with the sword. My saga with this sword has not ended, but there are definitely issues with the fit and finish. So my score with the fit and finish, considering the price range, I would give it a 5.5. 1 being a crowbar, 10 being amazing, 5 right in the middle. I would give it a little bit more than in the middle, so I would call it a 5.5 on the fit and finish. All right, moment of truth, performance and handling, my biggest issue with the sword. Now, I'm gonna have to give this sword the benefit of the doubt. I am a novice, as I said. Maybe in some more experienced hands, people who are experienced with Chinese weaponry, one-handed weaponry, this might have maybe handled a little bit better than me. You notice I'm using 2 hands there. But I can't ignore the fact that it was very uncomfortable. It did feel very unbalanced. I mean, comparing it to maybe holding a katana with one hand, I had a lot more control of using that as a one-handed weapon, considering it's 2 hands. I think that with this beefy blade, it's a heavy sword, about 2.13 pounds. This would have been great with a little bit of a longer handle to be able to hold it with 2 hands. But giving it the benefit of the doubt, but not ignoring the fact that I was uncomfortable with it. But again, I will keep on practicing with it and hopefully get better. You'll see more of this sword for sure. But I think I am going to give this a solid 6 for performance and handling. And that's kind of being generous and giving the benefit of the doubt that in more experienced hands, this dowel might have handled a little bit better. So it's going to get a 6. So do I recommend this Jaku Sino Swords Double Dragon Willow Leaf dowel? I would say more yes, but with a caveat in there somewhere. It is a beautiful presentation of this dowel. Execution on the presentation was beautiful. It is just a really pretty looking sword. It's not over embellished, it's just perfect. And the blade is just great. It's a great blade, very well finished, very well in terms of the polish, and very durable. It didn't take any damage, no scratches, nothing. It's I polish it up as soon as I got it. I love the blade. I love the folded steel look. They did a really, really good job on the blade. For that alone, I would say yes. But the caveat is, if you are looking to purchase this sword as a main backyard cutter, beware, because it may not handle very well and it may not hold up to whatever you're using to cut with it. But other than that, I think it's a great buy. But I would love for Jaku to address certain problems on this sword in their production line to make the handle a lot more comfortable, lighten up the blade somehow to make it more balanced, and fix the fit and finish problems that are present in this video. If that's all done, I think this would be a fantastic sword, especially for the money. But we cannot ignore the fact that there were fit and finish problems, and there is a problem with the balance of the sword as far as what I saw in my own hands. But other than that, guys, that's your Jaku sword review for this dowel, Willow Leaf dowel. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. I hope this helped you out a little bit in your purchasing questions for a dowel. And until next knife, next sword, guys, peace out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you very soon. Have a good one, guys. Ciao.